Um, all right, so everything's just kind of been developing. The Chicago Bears are a mess. It's so bad. You can see the reaction from Peters. It's not good. I mean, you really don't know what direction the Bears are trying to do. I think Pace and Nagy think they're trying to compete.
Oh, no, I know why they're doing this. They definitely got extended this offseason. That's the only reason why they wouldn't say whether or not they did at the press conference at the end of the year. They definitely got extended, and they know they have 2 to 3 years
And then
trying to figure it out. So they're trying to clear space right now.
O'Day's smile.
Dalton's a 1-year deal.
He's loving the fact that the Bears are a dumpster fire.
Well, I don't even mind, honestly. Like I said, I don't have any animosity towards the Bears. My animosity
We were
lies with the
anyways.
Vikings.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's like I just was actually laughing because I found this one tweet. So I remember like a year ago, this Packers writer I follow, Andy Herman's like a super nice guy, and he was having this like I don't know if you know who Greg Gabriel is. Is he a Bears guy?
I haven't heard that.
Never heard of him.
Okay, he's like an NFL like analyst. I think he used to be like an old scout, and they were just like getting into it, and like this is in the beginning of this is March 29th, 2019. So
it's 2 years ago.
Yeah, and so this Packers writer was basically like, I think the Bears window is closing. I think the Packers window is opening. This guy just like started lighting him up like it was super mean, and this dude like had a good relationship with him.
Yeah.
And this guy's specific quote was like, so Andy Herman goes, my point was that it's going to be tough to improve externally, which would cause the window to close quickly. The resources are limited. The team is great, pending QB. I think the window is shorter than people think. That's it. Honestly, Nostradamus take from this guy. But then Greg Gabriel comes back, and I'm saying you're 100% wrong on that. I'll repeat, the window just opened. And on the other hand, the window isn't just closing in Green Bay. And he goes, on the other hand, the window isn't just closing in Green Bay, it's shut and locked. Personally, I feel the HC hire wasn't good. Yes, you would disagree. I will be proven correct.
Is done.
And then he ends his tweet with, I will be proven correct.
Oh my God.
So on top of all that, he hates the LaFleur hire. LaFleur's lost like 6 games in 3 years. Like, you know, I just thought that was funny, and I wanted to read that because I remember.
Was it on a Wednesday? Because if it was, then it's opposite day. So he was technically correct.
He was technically correct.
Nice spin zone. There you go. He was just kidding. I think he actually went private for a while because a lot of people were like going at him. He's like an old guy.
He would have been right about the Bears if we had a competent front office. Then yes, everything except QB was in place to actually have a decent window. These backloaded contracts would have sucked, but we still would have had enough, I think, assets to make something work.
And that's what that Packers writer says. He's like, yeah, you have like a good team, like pending your quarterback. But then obviously things happen. I just thought it was funny because he's like, the window's wide open and the Packers is
slight perks at this point. But anyways, we'll get into the schedule that we've got. So we'll discuss Kyle Fuller getting released to save some cap room. Now Akiem Hicks is seeking a trade.
There's
a caveat to that, which I can get into later.
Okay, I was going to say.
Emma, he said that multiple key players on the Bears are very upset about that. Just the possibility of Akiem Hicks leaving, and that is outside of what just happened with Kyle Fuller.
Right.
Obviously, we'll go a little bit more in depth with how much of a mess and dumpster fire the Chicago Bears are. Allen Robinson surprisingly signed his franchise tag, so we'll go.
Yeah, that's good. That's all good things.
We'll talk about that a little bit, maybe what that entails and how that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be with the Bears in the long term. And then keep on with a little bit of the Packers talk. Aaron Jones sticks with the Packers and re-signs with them. We'll touch base with that, and then we'll talk about some other league notes and some Bears and Packers players that moved to other teams during free agency. But first, we'll start with the most recent news: Kyle Fuller being released.
And this isn't just Bears news. This is Packers news. Let me tell you that much.
He's not. So I think this ends up like the Raiders with Hudson, where yes, they're releasing it, but there's still a window for him to get traded, and they don't want him to go to the Packers. So I think he goes to the Broncos.
He's not officially cut.
He's not officially. I think we trade him to the Broncos for like a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Wait,
so the Packers do not get him.
When Shefty reports though they're cutting him,
they're planning. He said they're planning to cut him.
Got it.
They're going to say like, word. Hey, if you guys want a really good corner for nothing, Here you go. You just cannot be located in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Detroit, or Minnesota.
Yeah, and so, I mean, the idea of that is, you know, him and Akiem Hicks both are on the last year of their contract. They're going to demand, you know, obviously some more money. It'll save the Bears $14 million cap, but it's, you know, does it really save you $14 million cap if you spent $10 million and you offer $3 million in incentive money to Andy Dalton? You're almost right?
He's still on the right side of 32. He just turned 29, so he's a young 29. So it's like,
right.
You know, if this were like a 32, 33-year-old corner, you're kind of getting the end of the road. But and he's got 2-3 more years of probably.
You could easily get a 4-year contract. He could perform well in those years. And you start doing those.
Yeah, he might start to decline at the end year, but like,
you know,
and he's only had one bad injury, which he missed 2016. But then he bounced back from that better than ever.
Yeah.
So, 'cause he was not that good before that injury.
So what's the deal with this? Because I'm looking at your cap. Why is he being cut? Because like, so it looks like he's basically he was a 20 mil cap hit this year, wasn't he? Like a huge cap.
Because he restructured his deal last year or in 2019, and then so it was backloaded this year, and I think we needed to clear some more. So we could do anything to fulfill.
As released.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
What's the current Bears cap situation then with him gone and off the books? Where are they sitting at in terms of their cap room?
I think we're still pretty screwed, but
is it that?
Which is why the fact that Jimmy Graham is still on the roster blows my mind.
At a what? Is he making like $8
million?
I can find it.
Yeah.
He's making it's almost 10. He's making 6.9 mil base with a 3 mil signing bonus for the year. So he's making $9.6 million.
I guess that's like $1 million per touchdown. So
I mean, that's tough though.
Literally just a red zone threat. But
I also hate Jimmy Graham because he was terrible for the Packers. But I
mean, he only like quadrupled his touchdown total with us in 1 year.
Yeah, and
people are asking, does Aaron Rodgers make tight ends worse? People were wondering.
Yes, he does.
Well, Robert Tonyan was not a Pro Bowler.
Evan Ingram. Yeah. Wait, so okay. I mean, I just don't.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
We still have to find like a tackle. We still have some like positions in need, and I guess they think they can go find a corner for a lot.
I'm assuming. So it looks like Fuller was going to get a $9 million bonus. And then he was going to get, I'm assuming, like an $11 million base salary. So I'm assuming he had like what, 6 mil dead caps. You say 14 million. Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is accurate or not. But they have him 2021 dead cap. These cap figures derive from the trade or release of players on the active roster. Kyle Fuller, $9 million signing bonus dead cap.
And there was a possibility if they extended him, they could save $10 million on the cap this year.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there are going to be repercussions, and you know the Bears are kind of seeing it now. And you keep backloading contracts, and you keep pushing all the money and these ways to get around the cap penalty to the end of the contract, it will really come back to bite you, which they're seeing now, right? Because they thought they were going to compete in 2019. That didn't happen. They thought, you know, they compete last year, and that didn't happen. So now it's really coming to the head, where it's like you sort of do have to make a decision as a general manager, and these are your, you know, consequences. Like, you did this, so you got to find a way out of it, right? If you still want to keep your job and you keep telling the fan base that, okay, we're going to try to compete, it's like that's such a vague term, right? Like, competing is just essentially mediocrity. Like
8-8.
Right.
Yeah.
And Andy Dalton.
Except you can't go 8-8 anymore. 7-9, 9-7. Only 2 options.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
But in Andy Dalton's press conference, there was nothing about playoffs, nothing about trying to win a title. We're
not an 8.
Just competing. It's like, all right, every team, if you are getting paid millions of dollars, you better be competing. Like, that's sort of an obligation.
Do you hate it because it's not a winning move? Or, I mean, like, okay, maybe this is shining like too much sunshine on this, because I don't think it's a good move. Like you said, if you want to compete, you don't go sign Andy Dalton. Right. But at the same time, Andy Dalton is probably better than Nick Foles. Probably. And he's probably better than
Nick Foles.
Right, but I'm saying
like it doesn't
matter. Trubisky, let's say you trade Nick Foles for something. Like maybe at the very worst, you upgraded slightly at the most important position of football. I agree, it's not a good move. Like, but then again, it's like you tried to throw the farm at Russ. Like you tried to give him everything, and that didn't happen. So it's like, what do you want to do? Like genuinely, I don't know who you can get, and it's like, I don't know.
My take on it is that last year, DeFilippo and Nagy went out and got their guy, which was Nick Foles. That was the guy they wanted, and they traded a fourth round pick for him. But then a year later, you say, no, now we need Bill Lazor's guy. You go spend $10 million on Dalton, and you had Pace's guy, who was Mitch, which did not turn out well either. So why should we keep trusting these people? They all have the same brain, which is why they keep hiring each other, because they all think alike.
Right.
It's like, at what point do you say, hey, this system does not work? Like, you've already tried it twice, and like, what, Foles is like a $7 million cap hit, I think, or something.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's like 10 or something. It's like a similar Dalton. Yeah.
It could be a lot worse if the Jaguars
weren't paying. You've also got that Robert Quinn contract on your books, where sure, it's 2 years kind of guaranteed, and then the cap hit isn't bad if you release him, which if
it's
you
like
get more,
it's like 18 mil this year, but then like 4 next year.
And I think we're kind of getting
12 sacks this year. He's probably getting released regardless. He could have a good year. He's going to get released. He's a little bit older now too. But yeah, I think going back to what O'Day said earlier, the frustration I think with most Bears fans at this point is what direction are we trying to go? Are we just stuck in purgatory? Like, are we trying to win? Or are we trying to tank? Like we have like I can if we are trying to tank, I can get behind that because there's an end goal in sight. But what you're doing and it's been the past year now at this point, like you could see the writing on the wall after 2019. Where are you trying to go as an organization? It's just mediocrity, and that's infuriating for everyone. You have no idea what you should be rooting for. If you should be rooting for them to get into the playoffs, to win a Super Bowl, or if you should root for them to get a good draft pick, like a high draft.
And we're kind of getting into the weeds on this, but like, you're totally right. And it's like, okay, realistically, you're not going to win more than 7 games, like with what you have. I'm assuming if you're cutting Kyle Fuller and Akiem Hicks, besides Khalil Mack, or their top 3 players probably on your defense. I mean,
I'd say Roquan.
Be true, but high quality players. And it's like, do you want to get? I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, what's the plan? Like, okay, are we just gonna? Because like, I look back to the Packers, where it's like, okay, the year where like Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone or whatever, or like Mike McCarthy's last year was atrocious. Like, we were losing a ton of games, and then it's kind of like, okay, well, here's the plan. Like, we're gonna overhaul this, we're gonna overhaul that. We have money, so what are our issues? Like, okay, we're gonna bring in 2 new defensive ends. We're gonna bring in a new safety. We're gonna overhaul this and this. We're bringing in a new coach. Where this is kind of like, you've got 2 dudes who are at the end of their contracts. So it's almost like they're basically trying to put out the fire before, if we're being honest, they get kicked out the door. And then the next guy's going to have to come in and inherit this mess. So it's like, are you rooting for cut cap casualties and then maybe get a high draft pick next year when you got the new guy? And then are these guys, are they going to try to, take it even further? Me and Peters were talking about this. It's like, you put this in a situation now where you're Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, where you're going to have to draft Kyle Trask in the first round, or Mac Jones if he falls to you, or the Texas A&M quarterback, who I don't even remember because he's not good.
And
it's like, actually, and maybe he's good. Who knows? But like,
Chris Sims loves him apparently.
Yeah, he does.
He's fine for his 2nd round or 3rd round.
But my point is, this is like, it's like, you're not. You guys need the biggest thing, and you've been pounding the table for years, is to get a quarterback who is a good prospect and develop him. And now you put them in a situation where you don't have the draft capital to do that unless you trade up. Honestly, their only move that I think that could get them, and maybe you guys can speak to this, I think the only way they get you back on their side is if they do the deal that they were trying to do for Russ and trade up and get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. Because other than that, no one in Chicago is going to be happy. No one is.
I still don't trust them to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they'll trade
even
up
if they
to
do
the top
that,
5
I know they're like over.
Yeah.
We traded 4 picks to move up 1 spot to get Mitch. Mm-hmm. Why the heck should I trust them to do that, but to move up 15 spots
with future capital for guys that
which they probably won't be around to have, and I don't want them touching another quarterback.
Right.
And nothing they're doing says we want to win or lose. It's all just like, because if they're trying to tank, you're not cutting Fuller. You're trading him, getting something back. Because the point of tanking is to accumulate assets, not letting these guys walk.
Yeah, when the Packers had their terrible year, it's like, well, we're going to get the 12th pick, but we're going to get, this is the first time we're going to get a high prospect. We have money. Like, here's our weakness. Like, we're bringing in a new staff. And here it's just like there's no direction. And it's kind of like, it's such a weird spot to be in. So,
it's just like,
yep.
They're basically just kicking the can down the road. They're just like, well, now we're like under the cap space and we'll get like.
And I guess now you've got
the
this slide to
15th
deal
pick.
with, which is you're maybe perhaps
Okay.
giving him permission to seek a trade. Peters, why don't you talk about this?
So what I saw was he wants basically either equal pay next year. So it's his last year the deal, and he wants either like equal pay or more next year, and the Bears don't want to give him that. So he said, okay, if that's the case, can you trade me to a team who's going to be willing to pay me that much next year?
All right,
so it's basically he's basically saying, hey, I'm going to want more money than you're willing to give me next year. So either you can trade me now and get something in return for me, or I'm walking next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 32 with a 10.4 mil base, 1.5 mil signing bonus. So he's got a 12 mil cap hit, 1.5 dead cap though.
Right.
But you wouldn't cut him. That wouldn't. Yeah.
That's why it's like, I don't think we're gonna re-sign him next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to have him around one more year, but if we can bait someone into sending like a decent draft pick back for him.
Right. What kind of stinks about possibly seeing Hicks leave is he was one of those guys that was brought in that, 2016, 2017, 2016 when we were also kind of in that middle ground where we were, trying to win.
Terrible.
Kind of far out, and we were not playing good, but he always played his heart out for us, and he's one of those guys that, with the identity of the Bears of having a good defense and just, gritty in the trenches type guys, he sort of was that catalyst for the defense, even without Mac and some of these key playmakers when we were just signing veterans, to the minimum or whatever. He was out there making plays. So I think, among fans, this would be, Fuller had been around since, 2014 with, kind of under the guidance of Peanut Tillman in his final years, but seeing Hicks leave as well would just be a huge blow to fans that, love to see him play week in and week out. And,
he's the vocal leader of the team.
Right.
Like, he's the guy that like everyone loves. And like Fuller was pretty quiet. Like, he didn't really like speak a lot or anything.
Right.
Like, he just let his play kind of speak for him. While Hicks is just a madman out there, and everyone loves him.
So I can see why a lot of teammates and a lot of players on the team would be extremely upset to see him leave, or just have the Bears let him walk or trade him or whatever.
And we saw like last year and the year before, I think he's the most important player on the defense. When he's not in, Mac can't play to his fullest potential.
Right.
But when Mac's not there, Hicks can play. He can really step up, and like Nichols and I'm forgetting his name. It's gone a year. And Goldman. Goldman. They're coming back, so it's not as big as a need right now, but still, there's a lot of intangibles.
What do you do with a guy like Khalil Mack right now, man? Like, genuinely asking. Like,
we need a direction.
A premier. What are you gonna do? You're gonna deal with this dude for the next 4 years? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like
if we're
go
tanking,
get some value out of
get
him.
as much as you can out of him.
This goes into why the Bears are such a mess, because the reason why I believe, and I think most people would agree with me, why Khalil Mack was brought into the situation with the Bears in 2018 is because
take him to the next level.
You had Mitch coming off his rookie year. He showed signs and promise. He wasn't fantastic.
He looked fine for a rookie. He just never literally took a step after that. But like
Nagy broke him.
You had some mistakes.
Didn't want to coach him.
Right. You had mistakes that it's like, oh, we can just coach this up and he'll, improve over the next couple of years or whatever. So, with the defense that was up and coming, in 2017, they played pretty well. Eddie Jackson was balling out as a rookie. We talked about Hicks and everything. But if you just get a playmaker on defense and you have Mitch play a little bit better than he did, in 2017, this is a deep running Bears team that can go deep in the playoffs, possibly contend in a Super Bowl. Maybe not 2018, but 2019. That's the thought. And so that's why you bring him in a multi-year deal with over $140 million.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, was 2018 the first year after we cut Robbie Gould?
Probably.
No, it was 2016 because 2017 we actually had Cairo Santos. We were going through a bunch of kids.
I know we tried out Santos, I think.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of who was
first round.
And then there was a bunch of.
We're not Tampa Bay.
Those were the dark days.
Roberto Aguayo.
Roberto Aguayo was.
We had him. He was one of them.
Yep. But yeah, then we got Parkey in the off season in 2018 going into that season. Obviously, we know how that ended up being, but yeah, going back to what we were talking about with the direction and what we should do with Khalil Mack. If at this point, if you let Hicks walk, and it's hard because you gave Khalil Mack so much money, but you have to move him. It's just as simple as that. He's too much money, and if you're trying to build up cap and build up some, draft assets and everything, a player like that, you can't just hold on because he can contribute to another team that's going to be contending, and he would much rather do that. At this point, if you get a first for him, great. If it's, a second, third, and maybe some other, 6th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, I think you would have to take that as well, just because you're getting rid of all that money, But yeah, I would be inclined to say trade him if, we let Hicks walk.
What do you guys want to do? Do you want to tank?
Right now, I want to tank. I want to blow it all up.
At this point, I'm with
sell the team.
The shirt's coming next week. Yeah.
What's up?
Sell it to Jordan.
Honestly.
No. God, we do not want to be the Hornets. So it's like Urlacher and Briggs and Olin Kurtz. I trust it.
Urlacher.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Even more of a.
Hey, you need someone to kind of talk to the more rich.
I don't trust the guy whose hair just came back like that. That was
called science. Okay, trust the science. Trust the science.
Urlacher refuses to let people get vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, so
that'd be cool. Yeah.
So Peters and I are kind of in the mindset that we should just tank. We need a direction. I mean, from an outsider's point of view, O'Day, what would you say? Looking at.
Oh man, you guys know it better than I do. I mean, like, unemotionally attached to it, I would say that, like, if this were like a problem, like you guys were like legitimately good 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Or was it 3 years ago when you where you lost the Eagles, but like you were good,
well,
like in the playoffs?
So this will be
3-10. So that year you guys were really good. The year after, like, kind of took a step back. I just don't like. I feel like that team was built to win from 2018 to 2020, and then like it was basically predicated on your quarterback taking a step, right? And if he does, then you've got a great team around him and a great quarterback. But if the team around you is good, you've got good pieces, you're going to stagnate. Your quarterback's supposed to be the one that takes the jump. He didn't. I would personally say, I don't want to be like a dick, but like I don't think you're going to contend for anything in the next 4 years. Like, take Mac, trade him for picks, like trade him for players, like get high first.
You're also forgetting
a quarterback. Like,
you're forgetting fire everyone.
I
don't want a soul from that front office, like from McCaskey down, everyone gone.
And that's Virginia's actually starting at safety this year.
Except Sean Desai.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I would get rid of people. I mean, get rid of Mac, go get some picks. You probably get a mid to high first for Khalil Mack still. I mean,
trade A-Rob like a second rounder.
Stockpile picks, because at the end of the day, like, what is going to fix this for you, besides like sans new management, is going to be getting a quarterback. Like, the most important position in football, you need a quarterback. And like, unfortunately, you're kind of in an odd spot where like you're not good, but you're also not going to lose 15 games. You're going to win like 6 or 7 games.
We're going to win enough to really screw ourselves in the end.
That's what I'm saying. So my point is, like, you're not going to be in a position to take a premier guy. So like, I mean, either hope you're fully tanking, get in position to get a premier guy, or stock up on picks and trade them up to get higher picks, or hope, like, trade for those higher picks and get a quarterback. But I would honestly move people. I would like trade Hicks, trade Mac, like just go into rebuild, fire everybody. And I mean, it's the Bears. You can come back from this. Like, it's not, if this were happening to the Vikings, I'd say this would take you 20 years to come back from. But like, you could realistically fix this thing in 5 years. But like, the guys that you have
we
right
still
now,
have enough
you have
young
to get rid of.
guys. We still have enough young guys on like rookie deals at like kind of important positions that in like 5 years we could get back to this spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's enough young guys that we don't have to move.
In order to do that, you got to move the vets, because the vets, like a guy like Hicks and Mac are there. Like, they were there to take. I mean, Hicks was there, but like Mac is there to take you to the next level. So like, now that is probably not going to happen, what's the sense in paying a dude? I'm assuming he's making over $20 million, right? Like, is he that high of? Yeah. So like, what is the point of that? Trade him to somebody who's going to pay him that, who's a contender, and get a first back. Get picks. Like, I just don't see the point of him sitting in Chicago right now, just burning money off the books. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Especially because I feel like we have a lot of guys that are either really expensive or really cheap. We don't have a lot of just like middle income.
I was gonna say, they're
like averagely priced.
Your spot track is super weird. Like, you've got like a couple people on just big deals, and then it kind of really does drop off. So like,
we haven't had like Roquan Smith was our last like high first round pick
in 2018.
Like, we don't have a lot of like
still on a rookie
deals
deal,
that
right?
are like and
he'll
get extended next year.
Yeah.
And like, we just don't have a lot of like average deals where you're like, that guy's getting paid market value. It's like, we either overpay or underpay somehow.
But the thing is, if you look at our situation next year, Foles, I mean, if Graham doesn't get cut before the season, doesn't look like it, but you have Foles, Graham, Quinn, Dalton.
Can't trade Graham. He's got that no trade clause.
Right. But that's like 4 players right there that could save you close to, if not around $30 million in cap, which you can get a lot of quality players for that. You don't have to.
You trade him, if you trade him, you lose the contract, but you eat the dead cap too, right? So like, you could also trade them to save cap and get picks. Like,
So let's actually move into the next one with Allen Robinson signing the franchise tag, which is kind of an interesting.
Does that block out Kenny?
Right.
That was my first thought.
I feel like
does him locking it in then not give us the cap space to go after Galladay?
He's locking in the 18 mil, and I mean, if you've been following the situation with Allen Robinson, he was really adamant about becoming a free agent or finding a long-term extension with the Bears. He didn't really want to get franchise tagged. That's sort of a longer story. So I mean, he's just it's an interesting situation. I think the ideal move right now is just to tag and trade him. We were just talking about getting draft capital. Here's the thing: for a team like the
Jets, Jaguars,
the Ravens, I think we could get a Ravens first-round pick, a late first for him, because they're going to have to give him money, right? So that's kind of the caveat. You aren't going to get a high first-round pick for a guy like Robinson, who a team is going to probably have to pay close to $100 million total to get him. That's the money he wants, of course.
If we fudge his 40 numbers a bit, I bet the Raiders would give us a pretty good first-round pick.
Right, and they've got
make him like a 4.35 40, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, take everything."
I'll take him. Yeah, you can throw it up for Derek Carr. But
did you guys know the thing where it's like Allen Robinson? Maybe he's out of this at this point. I don't know if you knew this. He owes like 12% of his contract to investors every year.
Really?
Yeah, someone else is like that.
Yeah, so this is like
Tatis is like that.
This is like a baseball thing. This is on. If you ever seen the show Billions, they invest in. What they do is like, because a lot of guys don't make it or like they're injured, so they're like, okay, we'll give you like $5 million.
They forward their contract,
right? Yeah, they'll give them like $5 million, but then they'll be like, you get all that lump sum cash, and it's like we get a percentage of your earnings. It's a great deal for guys that end up not making it.
Yeah, he is very. From hearing him on Clubhouse, which is kind of like a talking app, he's very business savvy. He is sort of in like that crypto and NFT space, which is
and maybe he's out of this deal, but I mean, it says the thing is this company's called Fantext. This is when he was in Jacksonville. I think it was after he tore his ACL, so it makes sense why he did this. But they had an agreement with wide receiver Allen Robinson on 12% of his contract and agreements for $4.6 million.
Yep.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, well, so he might
with the Panthers is actually getting paid in Bitcoin now. Just really Bitcoin.
So Kung, that's right. Yeah,
extremely volatile, but I guess with when you're getting paid millions and Bitcoin is going for about 55,000 a share.
Just cash it out though, right now.
You get cash out.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so let's move on to the Packers portion of this, because this was a very interesting move for the Packers, throwing some money at Aaron Jones. So I'll kind of throw this over to O'Day.
I love that you got the Field Yates stuff up, because I don't have to have it up, even though I do. Yeah, I mean, I'll ask you guys your take, but I mean, here's my take on it. Okay, so like, I'm not really like team pay running backs, like, which is like kind of fair. I think Aaron Jones is almost in that tier, not quite. He's probably on the line of guys like Kamara, CMC. He's not at that level, but like he's good.
He does offer a ton to your offense, and
he offers passing. He's so fast, and he's actually a good run block or good pass pro, which is kind of weird because he's small. But I've got his contract over here, and personally, I don't think I would have done this deal, but I don't mind it, because the dude's one of the best backs in football, and it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers needs weapons. Like, well, I mean, we could either have given. I mean, he's not making that much average per year, honestly. Like, and think about like what a dude like Will Fuller is getting right now. Like, I don't know. It's like kind of like, would you rather have Will Fuller or Aaron Jones? Like, I don't know. But like, his deal doesn't make me too upset, because like, okay, so here's his 2021 deal: $1 million base salary, $3 million signing bonus. His cap hits 4.5 mil. That's nothing. Okay, so then they go his next season, 1.1 mil base, 3.25 signing, and he's got a big roster bonus for him. So he's making $9 million that year, but it's still not awful. No. And then his deal gets really, really big, where he'd be making like 19 mil and 15 mil the next 2 years, but his dead cap goes down to 6 and then 3. And there's a guy.
So it's more like a 3-year deal.
It's like a 2-year. It's like a 2-year deal, and so like there's this guy. His name's Andrew Brandt. He's on Twitter. He does Packers. I think he used to do contracts for the Packers, and he called this a 2-year and we'll see type thing. So yeah.
And then you kind of you get AJ Dillon some more experience, while also not overusing him, and possibly have him be the back of the future when you can draft another running back in the first round.
That's the thing that confused me, because them drafting him last year in the second round, I think it was the second round, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, that made it seem like he was going to be the bell cow, and he showed this year that he could. So it's kind of like, why are you re-signing Aaron Jones then? But it's also, I forget who said it. I think it was on the Pat McAfee show. But they said you have to treat him not as a running back, but as a weapon, because he's not like a Zeke where he's just going to run people over.
They were
like,
saying
his passing ability is like, you have to make him like pay him as like a flex between a receiver and a running back.
This too is like,
and then it makes sense.
You don't really want this guy to either like taking 20 carries a game and taking a bunch of hits, but if you can give him 15 carries and then throw him the ball 6-7 times, and then give AJ Dillon like 17 carries up the gut, like, I'm fine with that. And like, running backs aren't valued as much, but like, I mean, to me, I think it makes sense. And like, if you're going to invest this money in this guy, keep him healthy with another running back. So like, I mean, hindsight, maybe would have liked to have Chase Claypool or something like that, but I think AJ Dillon is a good football player. I think this is okay. I mean, I'm not like over the moon, and I'm not like disappointed. I'm kind of like, just average about it. Yeah.
So you guys could have done. You guys could have done what the Raiders did. Did you see they signed Kenyon Drake?
Did they actually?
Guess how much it's worth.
It's a big
2
deal,
years,
too.
$11 million, which is $5 million more than the next priciest deal for an unrestricted free agent running back, which was Jamal Williams with Detroit. And it's just he's their backup. He's their backup running back. They have Josh Jacobs. They don't need him. Like,
and they cut their linemen too, basically.
And Kenyon
they're idiots.
Used in the pass game either. Like, they had Chase Edmonds as their receiving back for the most.
Man, who would have guessed that an NFL Network draft analyst wouldn't be a good general manager? Who could have predicted that? Right? That's amazing. John Gruden, 10 years, $100 million.
Who would have guessed that a former Saints front office member would just backload every contract and think it would all work out? I mean, I don't know.
Clearly not the McCaskies or Ted Phillips. But anyways, we just talked about, Jamal Williams signing with the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Revenge games.
Power back, runs hard. Kind of what they did last year with Adrian Peterson. So he'll be paired with DeAndre Swift. And then Kenny Galladay, also some NFC North bits here. Talking with the Giants, the Bengals, and surprisingly the Bears. That's why we had to bring this into there.
He's on the Giants.
He's great.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but it's just
whoever gets him, getting a good guy. Though. I mean, he's fantastic.
He's young. He's you could give him a 5-year deal, and he would be if he played through the whole way, he'd be 31 at the end of it.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'd like to get him out of the division, honestly. So go to New York, make some money, hang out in New Jersey.
Faced him last year just because he was injured each time we played him, but he's definitely a game changer when he's on the field.
Jamal Williams is a sneaky good man. He's he'll be good if he gets I don't know. I think he could be a running back one in a certain offense. I mean, he can catch, he can block, he's physical. He's obviously not as naturally fast as Aaron Jones. He's good. I feel like that's a sneaky good signing. Like Peter said, wouldn't give the bag to Kenyon Drake if you could get Jamal Williams for that much. So
especially if Philip Lindsay now on the board
out there, All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll have a mock draft coming up once the free agency period is over with, and we can get some clearer predictions as we kind of near a month towards draft night, which is, I think, April 29th, end of the month.
It's going to be a terrible night.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. So
Packers drafting the quarterback. Yeah.
Round 1. Ian Book.
Round 1. Ian Book to the Packers.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.